Hey everybody, this ruling has forced you to either get DQ'd or lose the game. It's caused a lot of problems at locals already. It's happened at locals, regionals, even some players at YCS has experienced this. And it's kind of unfortunate. But today I brought to you a special guest, a ruling expert of sorts that you guys know on, especially on Twitch. Everybody give a warm welcome to Distant Coder.
I'm not a rulings expert, bro. Like, I don't know. People think that I know a lot about the game. I know a little bit about the game. I would say I could probably help you out with whatever ruling.
Okay,
you have.
so this one actually dwells more within policy. So before we get started, everybody, make sure you guys go to Distant Coder's YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button for him, go to his Twitch. Hit that follow button, and if you want to, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit subscribe and ding that notification bell here on MST.TV. And well, okay, well all that stuff being said, let's get started. So I haven't really told you the situation. I sent you the graphic. You've seen it,
Yeah.
and you don't know where this is going on. So
You just sent me a picture with like 12 cards on it and said, "Yo, do you see the problem?" And
Do
I'm
you
like,
see the problem?
Nope, I don't
So-
see it.
this has happened to my locals back to back, week after week already, and. Let's just say it's not a fun one. Well, I'll describe the entire scenario for you. So, I guess I'll put up the graphic for you guys who are watching at home right now. Here's the board. So on the blue side, we have the player that went first. He is playing branded Despia. He's established a board of a Masquerade that's live. We also have a Mirror Jade that is, for whatever reason, is also live on the board. Set on the field is a branded in red, and there's also a branded lost on the field. In hand for that player, there is a ad libitum, and in the graveyard, there is a Despian tragedy. That's all the relevant information that is there. However, right now, it is currently turn 2. Which is on the red player side. This player is playing Sword Soul. In their hand, there is Forbidden Droplets, a DD Crow, essentially the answers to a lot of the problems on the board already. And then there are a few combo pieces. But the catch here is this. There is only 45 seconds left on the timer. Both players are basically bubbling out at this point. Say they are one match away from getting the top cut. And the blue player chooses to call out. I know there's 45 seconds. You gotta either you gotta break this board, or I know that you're stalling for time. So they're making a call out on that you're stalling for time. What happens here? This has happened quite a lot at locals, especially for the branded players. They play into game 3. They get into time. They build a board, leaving the other player barely enough time to even try anything. And they know that the first card they activate, even if there was a droplet, they're going to burn for the 600 guarantee. What do we do here? This is like every judge's nightmare.
I mean, can't the Sword Soul player just droplet and negate the Masquerade, pay 6, then make long one, sync with it, burn, and win in time?
I mean, they can definitely try, but there are disruptions here. The Mirror Jade is technically live still.
That's true. Well, it would be negated by the droplet, but I guess if they brand it in red and then make the ad lib. But then at that point, they've only took 600, and then their only goal there is to burn with long one. But then at that point, if the long one gets banished, then I see what you mean in the sense that the
there's not enough time to perform everything.
Yeah.
There's a huge key factors. There's not enough time to perform anything. And the thing is, the player that's playing Despia has called out, I know that you're gonna try to stall for time. If you're not breaking this board and you burn the last few seconds, I know you're stalling on purpose. But here's the thing. The other guy's not going to try and lose on purpose either. If they know that if they play a card, they've committed to trying to crack the board. They have to play as fast as possible. And the reason why I established the board in a sense where the blue side do have disruptions, they have the opportunity to stop you mid-play to use one of their own cards. That's kind of where we're at the situation. So what do you think is a proper response for the red player?
Well, I mean, okay. So I think that in the situation here where the blue player effectively knows that the red player is going to be stalling for time, in the sense that in my opinion, with a hand like this in Sword Soul, you most likely aren't taking over 30 seconds to just think about your play. So realistically, if the opponent isn't playing, it is fairly obvious that it's because they're most likely going to be stalling out for the draw. In my opinion, the blue player should have called a judge at this point. If you feel as though your opponent is slow playing, rule number 1 is always to call a judge. You don't try to like talk it out with your opponent and be like, yo, I know you're stalling for time or anything like that. There's no point in doing that. That achieves absolutely nothing. What does achieve something is calling a judge and saying, hey, judge, there's 45 seconds on the clock. I have masqueraded. My opponent hasn't played a card in 30 seconds. I feel as though he is stalling for time. And then the judge will take it from there. And as the player in the blue, that is all you can realistically do. And if you're the player in red, yeah, you are confronted to a weird scenario, but in my opinion, stalling out for the timer is not allowed by the rules, by policy. So doing that would it would cause you to get a a pretty solid penalty, in the sense that if you're intentionally stalling for the timer and intentionally not playing in order to not lose in time or something like that, or to win in time, or to force a draw in time, anything that would be advantageous to yourself, if you choose to not play in order to stall out the timer, that is a disqualification. That is, by all accounts and purposes, cheating.
Yes. That's the position that a lot of players have been put through. This is like, if you go way back in the day, chain energy, and people just lock you out with chain energy, knowing that if you play a card under chain energy, you're gonna die. This is kind of like back down to that situation where you play a card, you're going to lose. You don't play a card, and you just burn out the timer. They know the intent. Like, the thing is, the intent is super easy to prove in this particular scenario. If I was in the red player situation, I see the masquerade. To me, I feel like I just got Long Yen burned. Basically, he Long Yen burned me. Because, like, there's no way I have enough time to actually play. But then, if I choose to do nothing, I think the situation gets way worse.
Actually, I think there is a way to win in time in this situation.
Okay. You know what? You found the flaw within my scenario.
I'm pretty sure there is a way to win in time in this scenario, but I mean, realistically, if you start your turn and you use the droplet and you hit literally like whatever, like you use the droplet, you pitch like the Veil of the Vishuda, hit both monsters on board. You've paid 6. At that point, you just go long one, pitch Moye, and then your opponent goes Branded and Red, it's just his only response.
They chain DD Crow.
You chain DD Crow, hit the card, and then at that point you've taken 6, and then you just summon the long one, and then you make Barone burn for 12, and you win in time.
That's a good point.
And because time doesn't force you to, it only forces you to play until the end of the current phase, you can even do that after time is called.
Ooh, well played, sir.
It's all good though. I see the scenario that you're suggesting.
Yes.
You're suggesting
say like if Long Yen wasn't there, and that was say another.
You're suggesting a scenario where realistically the only two options are not play and draw, or if the moment you put a card on the board, you've basically committed to losing this game.
Yes, that's the scenario. It's happened a lot. I've seen people get really mad at each other for it, especially at local. I'm like, sure, guys, it's a locals. You guys don't need to get mad at each other. If I was in the Sword Soul player's hand, I would do exactly what Coder just said and win the game. But in the scenario,
you would just win the game. Just win, you know.
But in the scenario where I can't win the game, this is the point where you can't win. You're playing not only your opponent, but you're also playing the tournament. You're playing by the policy.
Okay. To play devil's advocate in this situation here, I feel as though being in either player's shoes here is like specifically to be in the Sword Soul player's shoes, I should say.
Okay.
I don't think the Sword Soul player is in the right or in the wrong. Like, obviously, what really sucks about this scenario is that the Sword Soul player's hand absolutely wins if he's able to, like, if there was no time and he could just play it out, the Sword Soul hand absolutely rolls this Despia hand. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think it is very unfortunate for the player that he's confronted to a scenario where the choices are cheat to draw or play properly and lose, when in all, other scenarios, the situation would be win the game. But the problem that I see here isn't one that belongs to the players. I think the genuine problem here is the time rules themselves. They are simply not fair, and they promote this sort of interaction. When the time rules got announced, one of the big things that really pissed me off and a lot of other people off is that time rules, the way that they currently are, inherently promote stalling for time. They promote this sort of play style. That's why you see scenarios where, I don't know if you remember, back in I believe it was London 2019, if I remember right, there was a game that was played between Joshua Schmidt, and it was Jake Quincy.
Okay.
And they had like 10 seconds on the clock or something like that. All that Joshua had on board was a Borlo dragon, and Jake Quincy had like a monster on board, and he had enough time to normal summon an Orcus, link Galatea, make Dingirsu, send the Borload, and then attack for game. All in 10 seconds. But what had happened was he didn't even ask for any responses at any point. He just normal link, Xyz, target, attack in the span of like 3 seconds, like turbo quick.
Okay.
And what was caused there is that Joshua Schmidt said, well, no, I want to, on your attempt to leave the main phase, I want to use the Borload effect to target your Dingirsu, exactly. And that caused a scenario of like, well, is he allowed to enter the battle phase? Is he allowed to leave the main phase and stuff like that? And that's the kind of scenario that's created by the time rules. The amount of times that I've seen people like attempt to leave the main, and then the opponent goes, thinking on the attempt to leave the main, oh, whoopsie daisy, time just got called, I guess it's a draw, you know? Situations like these are situations that you see a lot of the time, and they are extremely toxic, and by their nature, they are only caused by the current time rules. Which is why scenarios like this specifically are like really, really, really not good, and they are caused almost exclusively by the time rules here.
And at this point, I would say that it definitely sucks to be on the Sword Soul player side, because it's either going to be some level of confrontation that's going to basically is guaranteed to happen the moment we call a judge. You guys, there's going to be some pretty bad banter, unless of course you guys are calm about this, you guys know what's going on, and you just accept the game as it is. I can tell you for a fact, back in 2018, giant card Nats, I was playing against my opponent. I was playing Trickstar Sky Striker. So I know the time was coming up because I had we had a timer on, and I special summoned out Mech Knight Purple.
Okay.
Purple one. And I know that he's also, this is a mirror match. He doesn't have anything. He has a Candina on board, and I'm like, battle phase. And he's like, you can't go into battle phase. I'm thinking exactly what you said. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And the time gets called, and then I was like, oh, I guess we're still in main phase. And then I call the judge over, and I'm like, I tried to declare battle phase and declared an attack, and he says, no, we're still in main phase. But then the judge says, does he he just basically asked the player, did you legitimately have anything to respond to prevent him from entering the battle? Because if you have nothing to respond with, you can't delay the phase from moving forward. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it, because you can confirm the game state even without anything. It's like, so you're in the battle phase. That's exactly what happened.
Well, I mean, even if he had something, in all honesty, what I've seen like a lot of the time is how things like that were ruled, like interactions like that were ruled, is say for example that exact same scenario, but he did have like a Lycaris in hand, for example, that he could bounce back. Yeah. Even if he had a Lycaris, and even if he chose to activate it, because you declared intent to leave the main phase, after that Lycaris resolves and whatever, even though time is called, for the most part, because you declared intent to enter the battle phase, the judge would still allow you to enter the battle phase, which is the scenario. This is based specifically on that scenario with Joshua Schmidt and Jay Quincy again, where they allowed Jay Quincy to enter the battle phase, even though the Bora load was attempted to be declared on the attempt to leave the main phase, and time was called before like that interaction had resolved, but they still let him enter the battle phase because he declared intent to enter the battle phase, because the action being taken by the opponent wouldn't necessarily prevent you by any means from entering the battle phase. It just basically is one action before you would enter the battle phase anyway.
Yep, that's a good point. That's a good point to actually put out there. So,
but specifically to get back to this scenario, the one big thing I think to take away from this specifically is that in a situation like this, yes, it sucks. It is neither of the player's fault. If you're the Despia player in this scenario, you need to understand your opponent, and you need to understand that your opponent is most likely not intentionally stalling for time, and you should not rush them. Like, I feel like once you're confronted to this scenario as the Despia player, you should not come right out the gate and just say, I know you're stalling me for time. That's very toxic, and will most likely result in a very toxic like environment once the judge is called. If anything, if you're the blue player, all you got to do if you think your opponent is stalling, don't say you're stalling, bro, don't do this to me, blah blah blah, all that stuff. You shouldn't be doing that. You should just call a judge and have the judge handle it, because that's what the judge is there for. And if you're the Sword Soul player in this scenario, do not stall for time, because stalling for time is against the rules. I know it really sucks, and in a scenario like this, realistically, you are confronted to a scenario of, do I stall for a draw or do I take the L? Believe it or not, taking the L is much better than getting banned. You don't want to get banned, so just take the L. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think that was the same advice I was going to give out. If you're going to be stuck in this situation, just consider as they burned you as the turn player, and they chose to go first, and that's kind of it. You're basically done for that game. I mean, let's be honest here. When you're playing basically down to the last 3 minutes, everyone's siding strategy immediately shifts to burn the opponent as much as they can, or choose to go second and try to get that battle phase. All decks right now, I think every single deck have some level of life gain or life burn built into their decks now. So let's just take it as it is. It is kind of expected that once you're running low on time, there's going to be some level of life point based winning at the end of round. Well, that's all I really have to ask, you know. Hopefully people will stop asking me if some people are stalling for time and whatnot, because it is what it is. I mean, if you know that you can't beat it, might as well scoop it up. And, you know, it's just healthier. It's just a healthier environment, healthier atmosphere for everybody. All right?
I mean, at the end of the day, don't blame your opponent, don't blame yourself, blame the time rules. Those are the real problem and the real perpetrator here.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, guys, that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys want to see, you know, the distant coder on the channel some more, make sure you guys leave it down in the comment section. I mean, it'd be really fun to have him do some ruling quizzes with us. How do you guys think about that?
That could be sick.
That'd be so fun. All right.
Down.
All right.
Oh yeah, I'm very down. I love quizzes.
Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. Check out MSTmerch.com. Check out Kevin's Twitch stream. Give him a follow. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.